Hi, uh, good evening, or whatever time it is. We're gonna jump right into a yin yoga practice. Yin is passively held poses, remember, so permission to not try. Try to, no, don't try, just be. Simply allow yourself to just be. Props, maybe a pillow or a blanket or a cushion, something nice and fluffy. Also, if you have a bolster would be great. Anything that's going to help encourage supportive back bends. We will go to one point where I'm going to use a yoga wheel. A lot of people have these now, but if you don't have a yoga wheel, you can just use, if you have a workout ball, one of those big yoga balls, I think people call it, that'll work, or just like any big cushion or pile of cushions that you can create to create an elevated surface, again, to back bend on. Anyways, we'll jump right in using meditationtimer.com to time us, and we're going to start in child's pose. So big toes to touch. We'll take the knees out wide. Give yourself a bit of lengthening in the spine as you press the hips back. And you'll fold forward here into child's pose. You're welcome to support yourself on a bolster or put a block or a pillow under the head. And try to find a positioning with your arms where the shoulder blades are down the back, nice and relaxed, and the forearms are on the floor. And so this will be our first shape to stay in. And remember, at any point, if your mind begins to really wander, you remember the breath. Your breath is your anchor to this moment. We'll be here for a few more deep breaths. And begin to make your way out of the pose. We'll bring the knees so that they're hip width. Bring the body forward into tabletop. Tuck the toes and take the hips up and back for a very loose downward dog. So again, we're not going to worry too much about alignment, but instead create some movement that feels right. So you'll paddle the feet, then straighten opposite legs. And slowly make your way back to a tabletop pose and begin taking a few rounds of cat-cow, inhaling into cow pose and exhaling into cat. Few rounds, follow your own breath. Let's go for one more round. So you'll end after your next exhale, cat pose. Neutral spine, tuck the toes, downward dog yet again. Hi, baby. And you'll take the right leg up into the air for a moment, take a big inhale, and as you exhale, slide the right knee forwards to pigeon pose. Well, excuse me. So use your left foot to walk the leg back as far as it goes. If your right hip is really high off the ground, put a blanket or a cushion underneath it to support it. This is a great opportunity to use a bolster if the floor is a bit far away. And you want your right knee towards the right edge of the mat, so not in front of the leg, but out to the side of it. And when you're ready, we fold. So remember, with a yin practice, start on the shallow end of the stretches. And as your body unwinds you, then you go deeper into the shape. And if that helps you stay with a breathing practice, you can give your breath a count. Let your inhale be a number, and let the exhale either be the same or longer. We'll deepen your breathing. Slow motion, come on up. And so oftentimes people have a post-pigeon ritual. So if you have one, take whatever that may be. I'm a big fan of pressing back to down dog and moving whichever leg was forwards around a bit. And when you're done with that, you'll come back to your down dog. And we'll come to the other side. So left knee's coming forwards. Right foot walks right leg back as far as it goes. Left knee to the left edge of the mat. Support the left hip if it's really high off the floor, or if you find yourself kind of tilting out to the side. And take a moment to settle. Use a prop if you need. And fold forwards. And if you decided to use a count for your breath on the first side, maybe this time around you try extending the number. So adding a count or two to whatever number you chose before. Deepen your breathing. Come on up out of the pose. So remember, if you have your post-pigeon ritual, do whatever that may be. Or simply take it back, downward dog. Left leg goes back and up into the air, move it around. Full down dog. And knees all the way down. We'll come on to our seat. Okay, so this next piece is where a bolster is nice if you have one. Shout out Inner Space bolsters, locally made here in Knoxville, Tennessee. They're the best. If you don't have a bolster, a big pillow, if you have a body length pillow, you can fold it in half or stack a couple cushions just so you have something to bend backwards over. So what will happen is you're going to take your cushions to your low back, your sacrum, and you might also need an extra blanket or something for a pillow if your neck back bend is a little tight. So you're going to roll over whatever your support is and make sure your bum stays on the floor. So if your bum starts to pick up quite a lot, scoot down a bit more. And then what's going to happen is take your hips, scoot them over to the left so you're a bit off center. Then you're going to go back to leaning over whatever prop it is. Maybe your head finds a cushion. Now, the knees are going to fall over to the right. Nice, slow, gentle. So knees are falling over to the right. Arms are up over the head. Maybe you have something underneath your head as well. So we should be feeling this all along the left kind of side of the body here. And I like to take my arm up over the head, maybe hold on to elbows as I let them drape. And you might need to micromanage your pose just a little bit to find that nice shape you can hold. And once you find something that you can surrender into, let go. Enter stillness. Just be. And this is a good pose to really observe where you might be holding on to, where you can actually soften the muscle. So for me, I notice my right leg likes to pick up. So I have to remind myself, let it go, let it go. Over and over and over again. It keeps happening. And that's okay. It just means you have to keep on letting go. And your breath will deepen. And the way I like to get out of the pose is, so my knees are to the right. I'm going to continue to roll over to the right as my left hand finds the floor in front of me. Press into my left hand as I then use my right to pick myself up. Turn to face myself back at the center. All right. So pause in a seated child's pose for a few moments. So knees to chest, arms around legs. You can bow the head. And we'll prepare for the other side. So center yourself. Roll back a bit. Scoot the hips over to the right this time. Continue to roll back. You might want to start with a pillow under your head as you begin to sink, and let your knees now fall over to the left. And so I like to keep my arms up and over the head to help encourage a stretch along the right side body, and you'll feel it into the front of the hip a bit. So take a few little adjustments, find your pose, and enter a state of stillness. Alright, we're going to make our way out of the pose. So continue to lean forward onto the left side. Let your right hand find the floor in front of you. Press into the right hand, press into the left palm. Begin to pick yourself up. Face away from your prop. Take a moment, move it aside. Flatten the feet, arms around the legs, bow the head. Okay, so I got you for one more pose. This is where you'll find your wheel or your ball of some sort. And similar to what you did with the bolster with the pillows, you're going to take it to your low back, whatever it may be, the ball or whatnot. And you're going to lean back onto it. You're going to take your arms out to a T. Let your head hang back as much as it can comfortably. So you might have to adjust to where your head is supported, whether it be on what it is that you're on, or use a blanket or whatnot. Arms are going to go out to the sides, so we want a big opening across the chest. And so if you're on a wheel, I like to it's as if you're sitting in a squat, but you're leaning back. So that's just a really nice way, again, to get into the heart. And this helps kind of counter our forward foldedness culture that we have. So this might feel a bit exposed or vulnerable or intense. That's all okay. You just don't want painful. And after you've breathed here for a few moments, if you're on a wheel, you can explore a bit more by rolling over, taking the wheel into the lumbar spine, maybe even so much so that the back of the head comes to the floor. And I like to keep my arms over my head here still for support. Feet are long, legs are long, feet are wide. And so really whatever prop you have, you can just explore what it's like back bending on whatever it is that you have. So you can just sit there where we were, or you can roll around, find your sweet spot, that Goldilocks spot. And you'll stay there and breathe. And we'll stay on this for a few more moments, or of course you can pause and stay here a bit longer. And wherever you are, let your hips find the floor. Take your time. You're going to roll on up out of the back bend. The lower your props are, the harder it will be to come up. So you can always just move your stuff aside and then come all the way down onto your back. Bring the knees into the chest for a hug, squeeze, gentle rock side to side. And Shavasana. Lengthen the legs long. Arms are going to come by your side body, palms face the sky. Close down the eyes. I'll have a playlist for you, so feel free to stay as long as you wish for the song. Be well. Know that you're complete.